Welcome to your next installment of Mr. Shuck's Flipped ELA. For this flipped lesson, we will be taking a look at the short story Three Skeleton Key by George G. Tudu from page 65 in your textbook. Remember that this short story is part of a small group learning cycle. Movies, TV, and books are full of horror tales. You might think that horror stories are something new. But since ancient times, storytellers have scared people with tales that make them want to check under their beds or behind the rocks in the backs of their caves. In your journal, I would like you to respond to the following prompt. If you were writing a horror story or directing a horror movie, what details would you use to create a scary setting? Take a few minutes to respond to this prompt. You can either do this in paragraph format or you can just create a bulleted list of ideas. Now that we are finished with the journal entry, we will add a few cool words to the cool words section of our Talking to the Text organizers. Remember to pause the video as you need it to write down the definitions for each of the following cool words. First cool word to understanding this story is the word key. When we talk about a key for this story, we are talking about a low-lying island. For example, the Florida Keys are all low-lying islands off the coast of Florida. The next cool word that we will be adding is phosphorescent. If you remember, phosphorescent was one of our vocabulary words in past weeks. If something is phosphorescent, it simply means that it is glowing. We will now add some academic words to the academic words section of our organizer. Again, remember that you can pause the video for each new academic word while you write out the word and its definition on your organizer. Foreshadowing. We had foreshadowing as an academic word last week, but we will be continuing with that for this particular story. Remember that foreshadowing is when an author drops hints or clues about what will happen next in their story or their text. Foreshadowing often helps to create suspense, which is our next academic word. Suspense is the uncertainty or anxiety that we feel about what will happen next in a work. Foreshadowing helps to create suspense. So when I think of these academic words that we are adding to our word wall each week, I try to think of them as words or tools that writers use whenever they are sitting down to write. Think of these academic words as like a writer's toolbox. Oftentimes, foreshadowing and suspense work together the same way that a hammer and a nail would work together. Let's follow along on page 64 of your textbook in the Literature and Geography section. The title of this story is the name of a key or low-lying island off the coast of French Guiana in South America. At the time the story was written, French Guiana was a colony of France. Cayenne, the capital, was the site of one of several prison camps maintained by France in French Guiana until 1945. For more information, you can take a look at the map on page 76 in your textbook. Let's turn ahead to page 72 of the textbook, where we will take a look at the Literature and History section. Please follow along in your text. Night lights on the high seas. For centuries, lighthouses have been used to alert sailors that land is near, to point out dangerous rocks and reefs, and to cast a bright light into the night to guide ships on their way. Seafarers have relied on these structures since the days of ancient Egypt. The lighthouse built in 300 BC on Pharos, an island near Alexandria, was regarded as one of the 7 wonders of the world. Lighthouses help to guide ships at night by giving off an intense beam of light that flashes every few seconds. Until the 18th century, the source of light was an oak log fire. Coal fire was used for many years after that, until electricity became common in the early 20th century. Some modern lighthouses also send out radio signals to help ships find their way in foggy weather. Even in the modern form, lighthouses still serve their ancient purpose as a guiding light a flashing speck of civilization in the dark, lonely waters of the night. Just a reminder that this story will be done using the small group learning cycle. So when you come to class on Monday, we will be selecting our group roles. Try to select a different role than you had during the last small group learning cycle. We will be discussing different strategies for success. You will review your journal and academic words, and then finally you will be able to read the story at your own pace.